We're doing live again. Um, I want to just kick us off. There's a lot we want to cover, and we both have a hard stop at the top of the hour, unfortunately. So it's going to be a really short live stream with a lot of dense information. But I wanted to read something that I put out on some social media platform earlier, and then give some context to like why my mind is just totally and completely blown and try to go from there. So I put this out earlier this on Monday, I believe it was this week. So I've been working in AI for over 7 years and have applied AI, ML, NLP in many ways in many types of products or features. Last week, I experienced a profound shift in how I approach using AI almost by accident. I discovered most AI systems and implementations are severely limited by their human creators. Well, I'm not quite ready to share that exact learning yet. I can conclusively say that one, human creativity is the number one most important skill for any job by any measure. Two, skills and experiences are very important if you want to go fast, but they're no longer differentiators in most cases. Three, startups are more important than ever and it has never been easier or a better time to try something digital. Four, large companies that think they have a digital moat don't realize that moats are expensive and complex for humans to create and maintain. Five, if you want a job working with AI today, learn social sciences. If you want a job that is AI proof, learn hard sciences. If you want a job that won't be AI'd for a long time, do something that's governed by physics. I'm not an AI hyper, I'm not an AI doomer, and I'm not trying to sell anyone. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. We're all living in mind blowing times, and things as we know it are changing faster than we're comfortable with.
So
Fast
it's a lot.
Friday.
Yeah, this was earlier the week, and then you shared that with
Yeah.
me. And yeah, why don't you elaborate a little bit? Because I think we talk, off stream a lot, and
Yeah.
we were talking about how this is stuff that we've talked about since maybe like GPT-4 ish, right? Like these types of things have been somewhat possible, especially for engineers who are kind of working on the cutting edge when it comes to AI. But something happened where you saw behind the curtain, so to speak. And this is the thing that I think I was trying to convey, or I am trying to convey to many people, is
Yeah.
the state of AI and what you can do once you know how to leverage it. Um,
Yeah. And like, I guess like I've been working with AI tools, building AI for a long time, right? And I've been coding with AI for yikes, a few years now.
mm,
Um, and I guess background real quick, like I do know how to code. I'm not very good at it. I don't enjoy it, but I have a tech background in it, right? I can code stuff. Um, I was talking to some friends last week, and I was explaining the kind of the precursor to the statement, which I kind of thought about over the weekend. And for me, it was like I've really unlocked the biggest bottleneck for AI right now is like human ability to keep up, and it requires a different way of working. And we were talking a little bit in the pre thing, but it's I think fundamentally everybody is now a manager in AI, and to effectively use AI tools today, like it's no longer I am going to do everything. I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell it what to do. You have to be able to like exercise a managerial skill set, or you have to exercise leadership. And your agents and bots or whatever we want to call them are like your individual contributors or your team members.
mhm, mhm.
And you can use those either in an organizational sense, which I'll kind of talk about in a second, or you can use them to help you amplify your ability. And the outcomes for both of those things are roughly, I think, the same. It's just like a level of scale. But once I kind of figured that out and then started to apply how I was doing this differently, I had I've I literally sat down and an hour later had a week's worth of work done. Like I had planned to do it over a week. It usually takes 2 weeks, right? It's like, oh, you're really bad at estimating. I'm
It's
like,
yep.
and then I was like, holy shit, I'm done for the day. I'm just like, I'm done. I'm gonna go like get groceries and like I'm like, I've literally done my week's worth of work. I've thought a little bit about what's next, but not really, right? Like
Mm,
I've given it, I kind of have a direction, but I was like, as I go, I'll kind of figure it out. And, there'll be an obvious kind of next pass. I was like, wow, I really need to like reflect on like what to do. But then also I was like, how did I get here so quickly? Right. So,
mhm.
um, then I was talking to some friends and they were, we were talking about just, I was like, we were talking too. And I was like, this is incredible. Like we need, like, I am so mind blown right now that this has happened. And they were like, we were talking about some stuff and they were telling me about they both use a podcast sync service, an open source software called gpotter, and it allows you, there's a service out there that allows you to just sync all your podcasts across all your devices. It's all open source. Pretty decent Android support, okay, Linux and Mac OS support, not really good iOS support. As far as I can tell, there's no app out there that supports it. They both use iOS. And so I was like, oh, I'm sure anti-gravity could probably do this in a few minutes. Right. And they were like, oh yeah, let's see it. And so then I typed 3 sentences and I had a
Was it
prototype.
really 3 sentences? Was it
Is
really 3 sentences?
literally 3 sentences.
Wow,
And like
okay.
for folks out there, the prompt doesn't matter. Well, I mean, I guess it probably kind
A
of
little
matters,
bit.
but this isn't prompt magic, right?
Mhm.
So and I think I'll expand upon why I think this is working for me so well. But so it was, it was a shitty prototype, right? It worked barely. But I was like, wow, I just built an app and it functioned, right? It
Yeah.
functioned in the simulator. I got it all. So it syncs with the server. It brings down the podcast. You can play it, pause it, just basic functionality. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then we were kind of chatting about stuff and they're like, oh, let me play with it. Well, Apple doesn't let you just install shit. So I had to go through a big process to get the App Store
Mhm.
approved to distribute, which actually probably took longer than I spent building the thing. That's a
Right.
whole thing. And I already have like all that set up, right? Because I've released other stuff with my company. We don't have anything right now other than the podcast app. And so that got approved. They started playing with it. Like, this is really cool. What if it did this? What if it did that? What if it did this? And so anyone who's ever built software or worked in with any kind of product knows that like that's
Feature requests.
customer
Yeah.
feedback, right? That's user feedback. And so I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Or like, it was like, well, what if it did this? Or like, and so what I would do then is I take that feedback just like I would as a product manager, synthesize it with my experience and judgment, and not just like feeding in. Sometimes I would, but most of the time I'm not just feeding in direct customer feedback. Um, and then let it go.
Mhm.
All right. And then it spits out something in like 20 seconds or sometimes a couple minutes. I was like, okay, that was easy. And then I would like send a screenshot. I'm like that. And they're like, how did you do that already? And I was like, well, I didn't do anything. I've been doing other, and like the whole part of the,
Technically, yes, you didn't do anything.
right. Yeah. So like, this
Right.
is all vibe code. I don't even know if this is vibe coded. It's like AI coded, right? I
Mhm.
didn't,
Right.
right. And so,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I, uh, I started just stacking on features. And then I was like, okay. Then I started thinking a little bit about it more of like a product design. And I was like, hey, we need to like, fix this stuff or adding stuff. You get that point of where things get cluttered. You have to kind of refactor. It did it all. Um, and so yeah, it like kind of crushed it. And then I added some really cool features that don't exist in some of the other apps or exist better, frankly, like the ability to have a device queue. So the software works with the server. It'll sync all your status and all that kind of stuff. But there's no way to do a queuing of your podcast with it, which is anyone who's podcast a lot knows that that's important. Did that. I've been working on CarPlay this afternoon. It's I've been into that for about 20 minutes now, and it like works ish. Like it still needs some polish, and I'm working through the bugs. But anyone who's built software knows, like anyone who's ever worked with iOS and CarPlay knows it's absolutely terrible. Like Apple has done an amazing job making this thing functional. Like I'm not trying to minimize it. It's just awful. It's
Mm.
automotive software craziness. There's all these limitations you have because if your infotainment system crashes
Yep,
while you're
yep,
driving, it's bad. You
yes.
can't add a lot of stuff in because of the way that the UI is minimized to prevent distracted driving. And that's all good stuff. Like I'm not, but it's really hard to actually build something.
Right.
So I built this entire app. It's released now in the App Store today. So within the space of like a week, like 4 days ish, I built an app. I coded it for about 6 hours over 3 days, not non-contiguous, and then it's pretty damn fully functional.
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
so it's in the App Store today. It might not be available yet. It's propagating through the world. Maybe I'll put a
The link
link
is
in there.
fully
This isn't an
distributed.
ad for this at all, but like if people want to check it out, they can. I don't even remember what I called it.
You said
It's called
you
Your
sent it to me
Pods.
too.
Yeah, I
Your
think it's
pods.
called,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that rings a bell. I saw it
Yeah.
earlier.
So you can search for that in the iOS App Store. It also works on Mac OS, iPad OS, and then CarPlay is questionable when it's coming. It's $2. You have to have your own Gpotter service via Nextcloud. It's all in the description if you're into
Mm.
nerdy details. That's cool. And then yeah, it just works. And so I'm going to be releasing it open source as well, so that if you want to compile it yourself and run it yourself or build new features or whatever you can, it will work on Android, Linux, web, wherever you want to run it. If you want to do that too. I'm focusing on the iOS pieces because that's where my need is. But yeah, and it has all of the core features that an I or a podcast player was. It brings in show notes. Like it's pretty bonkers. The queuing system's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of that. I designed it. AI implemented it. It's definitely like the UI definitely needs some work. Like I'll probably end up refactoring that. The next release is bringing the improved queuing system, and maybe CarPlay. We'll see if it makes it. And then the following release will probably like clean up the UI and like make it better. But yeah, uh, oh, and I've made money on it. Right? There's people in
That's
the
the important
world who
part.
have paid for this.
It's the
And this
important.
isn't about making money, right? But there is a cost associated with the App Store, and so I did put a small fee on it, and I don't plan to like add a subscription or anything like that. It's just kind of like let's cover the costs of the development cycle or whatever, and
The cost for the services of
yeah.
AI.
And if you want to build it yourself, you'll be able to. I don't have it up yet. It's on my list of things to do. Every time I go to like make an improvement, I'm like, oh, this is going to take a while. And then I just like end up doing like 10 things. And I'm like, wow, I
Yeah.
was the 20 minutes I thought it was going to take me to do one thing. I've now done 10 things and it's way better. And I'm going to work on pushing that out, getting more feedback from you can join the beta for free too, if you want to check it out. I'll put a link in, I guess. It's on the
Yeah.
website. If you go to the company, you'll find it. Again, it's not an ad. And so that's the story, right? And
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of information there. And I think I'm trying to tie pieces of it all together because we've
yeah.
talked in bits here and there about AI, right? Like we haven't been focused entirely on AI, but if you look at some of the previous podcasts we've talked about, when I try and suggest to people who are hesitant to adopt AI, the
Mhm.
thing I tell them is like, talk to the chatbot as if they were another person. And
Yep.
that's sort of like a precursor towards the manager mentality, right?
Yep.
So what you're seeing now with being a manager or becoming a manager, um, especially with AI,
Yeah.
becoming an AI manager is more about how you work with the AI and starting to talk to it like it were someone you would delegate tasks to, which is effectively what the AI should be doing in the first place, is kind of how you start approaching it.
Yep.
And this was like months ago we started talking about this. So I'm glad that you're highlighting it now. And the thing I struggle with is how to sort of convey this realization to those who haven't seen it yet. And that's kind of the reason I think this topic is so interesting. It's not just
Yeah.
there's something there, but it touches upon a lot of conversations that people deep in this space are talking about. So
Yeah.
you had told a little. Oh, yeah.
I was just gonna say 100%. And like again, I've been working with AI in its current gen form, whatever we want to call it. I hate the word AI, but whatever. Um, I've been AI coding with it. I've been doing agent work. But I was doing it well, I don't know if I was doing it the wrong way. I was doing it a very inefficient way. And I think that was like the unlock. And then kind of like what we were saying, I am now the engineering manager. I still
Yeah.
have to make some of the hard decisions. I still have to do a lot of the architecture work. Like if you've never coded before, could you do an app Probably. Is it gonna take you 4 hours and get into the App Store? Probably not. It's gonna take you probably weeks, and it's mostly gonna be fighting with the process of humans, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and I think that's where a lot of the pushback comes from too, 'cause it's people who really enjoy the craft of building,
Yeah.
and they don't wanna manage the engineering, right? They don't wanna be an engineering manager, they wanna be an individual contributor, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're gonna use AI tools effectively, you gotta learn those skills, and you have and to your point, like, I've ran teams before too. I've managed people, I've been the product of 100-person teams, like, it is a little bit different in that case because you're working with people, and you probably have relationships with them, and they have,
Yeah,
like,
I was
their
gonna comment on that. Yeah, it is a
yeah,
little different, and that's kind of one of the points of contention around
yeah,
using AI agents to do exactly what you want because, we are humans and we work with other humans. So if you build a skill of working with an agent and then just, "Hey, do this," and then it goes and does it, you can't go to your colleague and say, "Hey, do this," and then
yeah.
expect them to do it like an AI agent would.
Well,
There are
and
concerns there, yeah.
yeah, and I think the thing that I've really learned so, yeah, it is like being a manager, but it's still very different because it's like I've been a hands-on manager, in quotes before too, but it's really the right sizing of the task and the job. It's almost more like working with an intern where you kinda have to assess their capability when you get it if you've ever worked with an
Yeah,
intern.
yeah,
Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Sometimes they'll crush things that you don't expect, sometimes they
yep,
totally fall flat, and you
yep,
have to constantly be recycling and kind of resampling in your mind of, like, where things are, how do you work with them. The difference would be, like, in an internship scenario, I'm more working with someone to help them also build skills
to
and
grow, yeah,
learn, whereas with AI, I don't give a shit, right? I'm just like, "Get the thing done."
mhm.
I mean, some people probably work with interns like that, and you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah,
But,
no, I think you're 100% right. There are people that do
yeah.
that. They're guaranteed
No,
to do
yeah,
that.
and I think that's it for me, it's a direct parallel, and I think why so many folks struggle is that they suck at managing and they suck at leading,
Yeah, yeah.
and the people who are they call themselves detail people, and then they just, like, micromanage. I'm a detail person, but I know when to step back and let my team go, and I know when I need to ask more questions, and I need to start diving in or have skepticism, and, I think there's a lot of panic right now because people are seeing massive progress happening and they don't understand how they got there. And then they go try to use AI and give it every little detail. Um, I think the other thing too is you have to uh, accept issues with the end result, which again
Mhm.
is part of software built, right? You're
Yeah,
going to have bugs. You're going to not do things the way that you think they are. You're going to change a bunch of stuff and then introduce other
something else
problems.
breaks. Yep, mhm.
And you have to be accepting of that, and then you have to also realize that you can fix this stuff seconds later. What used to take you'd have to report a bug, a product manager would maybe write a story, and then it goes to some fucking grooming session. All that shit's nonsense for the most part
Mhm.
now. Um, you just fix it. And, like, honestly, as, like, a product manager or the product team, I'd probably just do a lot of this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
right.
you merge it in with the PRs like everyone else, but, I think that whole idea of how product teams work, I've always thought was really strange and kind of wrong. Now it's just obsolete, and you're just screwed because you're introducing so much more time and so much more
Friction, overhead, yeah,
bureaucracy,
yeah, yeah.
and again, I'm not saying you just build whatever the hell people say, and, like, that's not how you run product either, but having the right goals, having the right outcomes, having the right business, uh, everything is
Mhm.
more important than ever. Like, we were talking earlier before we hit go, and, you made the point, and I'll let you make that point too, but, I think that's more important than ever as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we're talking and coming from a software background, um, typically you kind of want to make sure you're building the right things because it was at once upon a time so expensive to build
Yeah,
products, digital products. So you had product teams trying to figure out what to build because you had there's a huge investment to doing so. Now with AI, it's paradoxically you still want to be very, very clear on what you need to build. You want to build the right thing because it's so easy to build now,
Yeah.
because you have engineers who can go off the rails and build anything that the customer wants. It's not the way that product should work. You want to be building for a particular use case. And it's so important now to know what
Yeah.
to build and how to validate what to build before you actually go build it, because there are products out there that will do anything you want now.
Yeah, I think the new danger is that because you can build so fast that you just build.
Yep.
And like, yes, you don't want analysis paralysis, you don't want decision fatigue either. But it's now, I think, never been more important to build the right stuff.
100%. Yeah.
And that, in my mind, doesn't change. And again, I think the people who are struggling with AI, implementing AI features, you're probably struggling with what is your business outcomes. And maybe
Hmm.
you don't know that you are, but that's probably it because it's, people are like, why did you build a podcast app? Well, there was a need,
Mm.
right? I had a couple friends who needed a thing. It's done now. I did a little quick market research thing. Nobody seems to do it, and my suspicion is that most of the people who are running their own servers and shit for this are like people who are probably not on iOS. That's fine, and maybe they are, and they just don't use it on iOS, right? Okay, fine. Now there's an option.
Yeah.
Cool. That to me is a no brainer. Like, am I going to make a multi-million dollar company out of this? No. But it was like a fun little side quest, I guess, for,
Side quest.
yeah,
Nice.
right? Working on
Yeah.
spice. But it's really transformed my thinking in like, I could go on this thing forever, right? I could tweak it and do this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, cool. It's going to be open source. You'll be able to do that. But I really saw that immediate danger because there was a lot of like, oh, it would be cool if
Mhm.
they did this. It'd be cool if they did this.
Yeah. What
And
if I
like,
did that? Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I turf it to the AI, just be like, hey, here's a brain dump of stuff. Make sense of it and give me a plan and let's take a look at it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then, it works most of the time. I'm like, okay, cool. But I can see now where teams are really getting lost. I can see where the company gets out of sync with, I vibe coded this app on the weekend. Why does it take so long,
Yeah. Yeah. Why
to
can't you
implement
guys
this
do it
stuff
and
in
productionize?
production? And
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
a little bit different. But I think the main barrier now is still that barrier of like, how do you incorporate feedback? How do you get in front of the customer as fast as you can? And how do you incorporate it? And this idea where, you run a UI, UX survey and focus groups and that kind of stuff, you could do that still. And now you can change it immediately,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I see a very clear world where the product designer or the UX person sits with a group of people. Oh, what if it did this? Okay, what about blah 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 blah? Oh, it's done. So like this? Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. Like, and maybe you have to go back and rework it, but you can rapidly prototype in front of people, right?
Exactly. I think that's the highlight I wanted to make too. We talked
It's
about this
incredible.
was, yeah, the definition of rapid prototyping is changed almost instantly, right? Back in the day,
Exactly.
you had product teams that would do low fidelity prototypes, right? They take pieces of
Yeah.
paper, put it together,
Yep.
and
Yep.
ask, right? So
Draw it out.
you
Yeah.
can actually, yeah, you can actually build an entire app that does the prototyping for you. So uh, like it also reflects one of the things that we talk a lot about in 3.8 in general is just the power of iteration, how fast
Yeah.
you can make those loops of getting something delivered and getting feedback on it. Yes, there are still overarching concepts you got to make sure you're following, and like, are you building the right thing? Are you delivering the right thing? Are you taking the feedback into account
Yeah.
to whatever degree it needs to be? But that loop has been closed by so much with
Yep.
something like AI, and I think that's kind of the key element that a lot of people don't really foresee here is if you go back to the first principle of speed of iteration and then what your product is built
Yeah.
for, getting the feedback and then tweaking your product to match that, then you can do a lot. You can do a lot.
Yeah. And I think product teams are not ready for this.
Mhm.
And I think engineering teams are not ready for this. And like the focusing, I think you try to be a little proactive for folks, but like you need to figure out how to collapse those cycles down. And that's core engineering work. You got to have the tests ready to go. You got to have resilient services. You have to be able to probably work with people who aren't super technical to get them a branch they can check out. And now your sales team could even be in front of customers, iterating shit, bringing
Mm,
it back to the product manager and the product team saying, hey, here's a bunch of stuff we talked about. This is what they all want. I don't think you need to do that. Like, you still need to do product building, but the ways in which you capture feedback, the ways in which you can get ideas now, is a total new paradigm that I don't really hear anyone talking about. I've been thinking about this kind of stuff for a long time, and it is just fundamentally changed how everything is done for the better. It's collapsed the speed down. And
Mhm.
now at the on the flip side, I what I don't want to see happen, what I suspect will happen in a lot of companies too, is like, well, we can move faster, so we need to do more.
Yeah, 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 I was gonna comment on that as well,
Yeah,
and
it's not about doing more, it's about doing the right work and getting to the right work faster, right? So
we
again,
have talked about this,
having
by the way, in the past too,
no,
the
100%.
work-life balance. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
well, but you if you would, get your all your outcomes done for the quarter or whatever, there's all sorts of shit to do, go do more, but the it's still doing the right stuff, and I think
Mhm.
understanding that now is gonna be even probably more challenging because you're gonna have all this noise from everyone vibe coding all this shit. Fine. That they don't understand that it takes a lot more to build this. So, like, building an app is one thing, adding software is one thing, but building a company is very different.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a lot of other considerations, like how are you gonna support this? Does it meet compliance? Does it legal? Like, all this other stuff, right? And so those human systems will get faster as well. And I think you'll be able to give like, and I think maybe kind of buried the lead on this. I submitted this AI coded app to the App Store and it passed
And
the
there's
first
yeah,
time. I've never submitted anything to any app store that passed the first time.
yeah,
Even after I've had an established app in there, there's always some like kickback usually. So I don't know if that's an enigma or not. I'm going to be submitting a new version here. I don't know, whenever we get it done, probably this weekend or maybe next week. But it like that's the proof, folks. Like this past Apple's standards. It's and I've looked at it, right? I've looked at the code. It's fine. I, better. You can always
it's
make it better. But like it works. It works pretty
yeah,
well, and it's made money. So I don't ever want to hear, this is a warning to anybody who ever works with me again. I don't ever want to hear that AI can't do this because it absolutely can, with the caveat being I had to employ a lot of judgment.
mhm,
And I don't see that changing ever. Like
right,
it's always still going to be about, can you decide what the best course of action is? Again, what is those outcome? What are those outcomes? What is the value I need to produce? I can go produce a ton of features. Does that produce value? Because you don't want to just burn your time, even though it's AI. There's still an
yeah,
opportunity cost, right? Like you could have the AI be doing other things. So like how do you do work is still a problem and a question. I think the scrutiny of that gets less. And everybody who always struggles with that, and every company I've ever been a part of that really struggles with what do we do, doesn't know what they're trying to accomplish. What is your
yeah, yeah,
outcome, right? It always
yeah,
comes back to that, and how do you provide value? And then I think it's really coming back again to how can you get creative with all of this? But like I was kind of talking about, can your designer now run a design session where you're actually rapidly iterating with, or maybe you have an engineer, we go back to that kind of pre-sales engineering
sales
idea,
engineer, yeah, yeah, sales
right? Where
engineer
you have
skills,
someone who
mhm,
kind of knows the code base, who can get in there and like, now I'm just kind of riffing, but I love that idea. And I love the idea that that could be a junior engineer. Everyone's always talking,
so
AI is going to destroy junior engineering. Well, yeah, I think kind of actually. However,
yeah,
that's a good example of something that we used to kind of do. We don't really do that in most industries anymore, but now you can go back to that, right?
yeah,
Because that junior engineer is going to be just as productive as everyone else because they're using AI too, hopefully. And now you can be literally getting, you can collapse those feedback cycles down of I have to talk to a bunch of people, take some notes, synthesize that information, go mock it up, to let's just kind of tweak shit as we go. That's going to make
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of. I believe it was Palantir, but I'm not 100% sure on this. So cross check me on this. But there's this concept of a forward deployed engineer,
Mhm.
where you had an engineer go into a team that they did not strictly belong to, but learn the process by their engineering background. They can help
Yeah,
speed up flows or automate flows because they have that engineering sense. And I think that
yeah,
coupled with AI is effectively that you're able to deploy these types of engineers to make any type of workflow efficient given their use of AI. So
yeah.
I've been a fan of that model.
Yep.
I don't know that it's going to be something that that takes off, but people need to, and it's maybe it's a misnomer because you don't strictly have to be an engineer. You just have to know how to work with the AI. I think that's kind of the key difference is,
Yeah, and I think, like, people who don't do code and AI stuff need help and they need
mhm,
training, and I think that's a way to do it. I also think, like, in the right circumstance, this isn't nothing none of this is, like, universal advice, but in the right circumstance, I can see that being incredibly powerful, and I've been in teams where we did that before Palantir called it for
mhm,
whatever
yeah,
they
yeah,
call it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
you're right.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It used to be called, like, sales engineering or pre-sales, where you'd be, like, in a demo, and then you'd be trying to, like, mock stuff
yep,
up and,
yep,
like,
right,
um and when, the SaaS model is kind of dead, and that is a way now you can provide value as a SaaS company to just say like, "Hey, we're gonna, maybe build you some edge case solutions right here, or at least get it mapped out enough." You're still gonna have to do the traditional mappings. Maybe you get the solution with AI, maybe you don't. But instead of having to spin up a whole 'nother feature set, you might be able to, have the company A feature and the company B features that solve some solutions for them that you normally would have just said, "Sorry, can't do it," or it's gonna go sit in a product backlog somewhere. That way of working is also very different,
mhm,
right? And I love and I know we're hitting the top, but
mm,
I love, thinking about this kind of stuff in different ways, and I think that'd be a fun podcast to do maybe next week is to, like, start talking through, like, and challenging some of these assumptions and, like, kind of giving, like, illustrations of a possible future. Because again,
yeah,
like, creativity is the number one skill for this. Like, AI, I don't think is gonna surpass human creativity anytime soon, if ever. But the people who can't be creative with AI are gonna be left behind, and you don't have to be left behind, right? You just have to approach it differently, and it's unlike any other tools that we've had, where it
100%.
it extends your ability to, it expands humans' ability to do things, other technologies. AI will do that, but AI will also extend your ability to do things beyond what you understand, which is a huge danger, right? And that's where you get the vibe coded feature that somebody on the team puts together and they're like, "Oh, it's really easy. It should just work, right?" And it's like, "Nah, maybe, but probably not."
Yeah, yeah.
And so
I mean,
it's again a judgment thing, right? You have to understand that just because you can do a lot of this stuff or you can extend past what you understand, just because something's simple doesn't mean you understand it. And just because you understand a
mhm,
simple message doesn't make you a master of the universe or master of code. And I think people are kind of losing that as well.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
people, I'm sure I can hear the comments already. Oh, he thinks he vibe coded an app. But I'm like, well, I actually did and it made money. So stop. But also, yes, this is not the world's greatest podcasting app, but it's frankly not bad and fucking do better,
Do stuff,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing that I would love to hear other people weigh in on, right? Like, you and I have
Yeah,
talked a little bit about this, and I've mentioned I've been trying to communicate this to other people who haven't quite understood it yet, quote, unquote,
yeah,
"understood it." So, if people have some defense or they're trying to understand, maybe that's a better way of framing it. Like,
yeah,
what do you need to understand what we're trying to say? Because I can objectively see us sounding like AI touters and being like, oh, AI is
yeah.
great, AI is everything. But also understanding that there are people who don't think that way. So it's something changed for us when we saw the possibilities. And now it's
And
like, how
I
do we
have
share that with
been
other people?
working on AI stuff for
Mhm,
7 plus years. So none of this is like new to me, but it's I think it's the transformation
mhm,
of it's like an abstraction.
mhm,
And a lot of people don't do abstractions. That's part of the problem. You can figure it out. Math helps, but like it's an abstraction by definition. And I think for me, it was like really figuring out like I knew it was an abstraction, but like getting that like, oh, this is how I interact with the abstraction. Or this is how I start to interact with the abstraction was what was really changed. And then I saw
mhm.
the immediate results. And like it's like I unlock like these models have the knowledge of the universe in in their memory, right?
Collective,
And
yeah,
they're trained
memory,
on the
yeah.
corpus of human information. And just like a person, if you're asking it all sorts of random stuff, you're going to get random kind of high level answers. But if you find a person who's really into something and you start a conversation, and over time, you build kind of a rapport, you get much more detailed information or much more interesting stories, right? And I think that's what I'm suspecting is happening with my use of
Mm.
this right now. Is it's not telling me stories, but it's like it's it's really been focused in on doing what I needed to do, and I don't have the hallucinations problem as much. Like, it still happens, but and it's like it's incredible tooling. But I think it is. It's unlocking the abstraction and
Mm,
understanding it because it's like our minds can't comprehend it, literally, right?
mm,
The
mm,
AI knows more than you do about almost everything. Like, sure, there's always niches. Like, you know more about some stuff than I do. I know more stuff, right? You're always going to find something else, but like on average, I think the AI is definitely knows more than most people,
yeah.
and like it's getting that information out in a reliable way. That's been the hard, challenging part, and it still is.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about AGI and the AI Jesus and all this shit. It's just like it's like Google on crack, right? You can find everything on Google pretty much, but you got to know kind of what to ask for and you got to know how
Mm.
to sift through the information. It's the same kind of problem. It's just that it's much harder to do that because the outputs are I can't say go type in this search string and you will get to this web page, right? It's taking the humanity, the semantics, creativity more into to play, which makes more variability. Should we end it
Great
there?
place to stop. Yeah, it's good. It's a good comment to stop on. All right. Yeah,
All right.
we'll dig in to more detail because it's definitely a fascinating topic. I'm sure a lot of people have comments or questions that.
Yeah, bring your AI descent next week. All right, take
Yeah.
care.